Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So on my channel today, we're gonna do something a little bit different from other stuff that I've done before. So on today, we are gonna review the movie It Chapter 2, which I just went to go see this movie today. And let me tell you, before I start this review, spoiler alert, because I'm gonna talk about everything that happens in the movie, but I'm not gonna give too much detail away because if by the end of this review you feel like you still want to go watch it, I want to make sure that you're still semi-surprised of what is gonna happen. Not like other people out here in the streets that just give you all that fucking information of the movie and then you basically feel like you just went to go watch it. That's not what I'm about to do. I'm gonna basically give you my opinion and then you're gonna figure it out for yourself. Alright? Okay, so with this review, I feel like, okay, so I'm gonna give you my opinion. Don't threaten my life, don't do none of that. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody got an asshole out here in these streets. So sit back, relax, get you some popcorn, and get ready for my opinion. Ready? So I'm gonna put right here, I'm gonna put the order that I'm gonna be discussing this movie. So the first one is how this movie began. Okay, so it chapter 2 basically picks up exactly right off of chapter 1. So it picks up as, Beverly is in the sky and she has her eyes wide because, she's caught by the deadlights. And, showing us we're basically moving on 27 years after. So to begin, I wrote this shit down because I wanted to remember. Okay, so to begin is, as a homosexual person, bitch, we don't really get that many, people out here to show us about what it is out here in the streets, right? So to begin, we start off with, in the festival, the Carnival in Derry, which is, the first incident, which they show is these two characters, of homosexual descent, of course, and they're, the boy is playing the little water game and he wins. There's this little girl right next to him that we'll discuss later on. And he looks over and he hands her the little stuffed animal to show, how nice and how caring we is out here in these streets compared to what everybody likes to make us out to seem like we monsters and we like to threaten children and shit. Okay, so then they like make out, they kids trying to be cute out here in these streets. And then so what ends up happening is these, homophobic motherfuckers come out and they basically attack them. They fuck them up and they throw one of the boyfriends over the water, which is, if you read the book and about, it, and the whole thing about how when he wakes up by a horrific act. So this is the horrific act that wakes Pennywise up. So, he's getting flown out to the river and, Pennywise reaches out and he snatches him out the river. So the boyfriend runs down and he sees him thinking, somebody done saved him, helped his man out. And Pennywise is looking directly at him and he's like stunned and he's like, what the fuck is going on? So while Pennywise is looking at him, he take a huge chunk out of his, like, I don't know if it's his titty or his rib or whatever the fuck, but he takes a huge bite out and the boyfriend gets scared. He's like, I don't know what the fuck to do. And in that moment, all the little balloons that say I love Derry start floating under the bridge, which we seen in the trailer, start floating from under the bridge. And this is where we get introduced to our losers, which is Mike, because he stayed behind, but we'll talk about that more. Okay, so now we're going to go into the Losers Club. So the losers, they're all successful. They've all moved out of Derry except for Mike. Mike stays behind because he's the one that remembers and he's the one that calls everybody up to be like, hey, yo, Pennywise is back. But when you move out of Derry, you basically forget and you have no memory of what goes on in Derry so since you're in Derry, Pennywise has a control over you, bitch. So, he basically, when you leave, you basically get that whole thing wiped off. So after that happens, so what ends up happening is he realizes that, that character just got killed. So he understands that means that Pennywise's cycle has started all over 27 years, after the first one. So he calls everybody up and everybody's, individually going, through their successful careers. But Beverly has a successful career, but she has an abusive boyfriend that mirrors the abuse that her father had put her through. So in the opening scene, when he calls her, you know, she runs to the room or whatever, and she's like talking to him, and then she come back and she tell her man like, hey yo, like I gotta go, you know, my friend, he just called me. And apparently they had a situation where she was talking to somebody and he felt threatened, that he thought, you know, she was being a hoe out here in these streets, and goes all into this huge rant, start beating her ass, gets a belt out, start whipping her in her arms. She's like playing self-defense and she hiding and shit. But, you know, I'll give it to this bitch, because she got up and she knocked that motherfucker clear out. She ran out the room, took off her ring, and she put it on the doorstep. So, and then Stan is the only one that doesn't make it. Stan is the one, you know, the little curly one that had the that bitch from the painting. That was the thing that he was afraid of, snatching by his fucking face and scarred him for life. So when he gets the phone call, he ends up writing a suicide letter that they get further on in the ending. That they get in the end, that, you know, tells them why he committed suicide and blah blah blah. But we're gonna get more to that once we get towards the end. So he goes in the bathtub just like, you know, in the book, and, you know, he slits his wrist because he gets a memory of when they were all cutting their wrists up and, you know, making their oaths of if Pennywise ever came back, that they would all return to finish the job. So he ends up slitting his wrist, and of course he writes it on the wall. So then, you know, they all make their way to Derry. They all come out to the Chinese restaurant, where you see the chemistry that they always had with each other. It's like right there in that moment. It's like no time has passed. They're like in sync with each other all over again. They all making jokes, laughing. It's a beautiful montage of a moment, which gets interrupted by Pennywise, because he starts playing illusions for them. This one we're gonna get into spoilers, so spoiler alert right here, right now. So they get interrupted by Pennywise by playing tricks on them, by doing the fortune cookies, because at this moment none of them understand where Stan at. Like, they don't know what the fuck happened. So in the fortune cookie, they all get a different word, and they start putting it together. They don't understand what the fuck is going on, because Beverly has her sitting back and she don't know what the fuck. So they're trying to figure out, they're like, what the fuck is going on? So she hands him there, and the little paper says Stan. So it says, when they put it all together, like, I guess Stan couldn't cut it. And with that, the fucking fortune cookies start coming alive. They get an eye, they get a fucking a bat, they get some type of fucking deformed baby shit. They get all kind of crazy shit, and then they all freak out. But it's part of Pennywise's illusions, that, you know, with Pennywise, that he likes to control, you know, your mindset to make you see what's actually really not there. So they all start freaking out. Mike gets up a chair, he starts banging the thing. That's when the waitress comes in, and she sees nothing, because with the people of Derry, since they're under Pennywise's control, he lets them see what he wants them to see. So the waitress thinks that everybody up in there is fucking crazy, because they're fucking destroying everything. So then all of that, they all come out, and then they call Stan to see where the fuck he at. And when they call, the wife picks up, and he's like, you know, Stan has committed, you know, he's no longer with us. But before she gets to that, Beverly beats her to the punch, and is like, she died. Like, he died. He killed himself. And, you know, the wife ends up being, like, assuring her, like, yeah, that's what he did. So, fuck, I forgot the fat boy's name. Fuck. So he picks up with the fact that Beverly has said that. So when they get back to the hotel, he's like, but you said that, like, you said it before she did, so what do you mean? And she's like freaking out, because she's like, oh my gosh. So when she was under the deadlights and she was floating in the sky, she saw their future. She saw basically what was going to happen if they didn't all stick together, that Pennywise was going to go after them one by one and kill them one by one. So she saw that what happened to Stan, his truth came out, and, you know, what happened to him was he killed himself. So she tells them, like, you know, I saw basically how we all die, and, you know, Pennywise basically kills us. So then Mike tells them a whole about the whole ritual of Chud, and they all need to go back to their childhood and figure out what was it that held them down. And this is what the smart thing about this movie does. It understands that together they're strong, but it also shows you that individually you need to find out what's wrong with you, so that way when you come back to the group, you can all together conquer it. So what this movie does is it divides them, and they all go out individually trying to find out what's wrong with them. So as they go to different locations, they start seeing how Pennywise affected them slowly but surely. With Beverly, it was the old lady that we saw in the trailer that's coming out after her, telling her, "You still daddy's little girl?" and shit like that. And you know, that scene does not disappoint. Just telling you right now, right here, right now, that shit is fucking scary. Like, a bitch jumped back and I was like, "Ooh, oh bitch titties," like, tried it. So then Richie's is the whole, you know, he's secretly, you know, a homosexual here in these streets, don't nobody know. And he has a scene where he's with Bauer's cousin and they're playing in the arcade, but the Bauer's cousin sees Bauer's coming and he's like, you know, I gotta go, like, not trying to be seen out here with him because, you know, Bauer's be fucking with him. So when Bauer sees the cousin's like, you know, you didn't tell me that, you know, you have fairies out here like fucking Pixie Hollow flying around and shit, and they all make fun of him. So he runs out, and that's what's his thing, is that, you know, he's holding on to the secret that he's like secretly gay. So when he runs out, he sees a big ass fucking statue that comes alive, and you know, it's Pennywise. And you know, he does this whole running shit and all kind of shit, you know, gymnastics, shit that I could never do because bitch, I'll be out of breath and I'll be dead by like one swing. So that, you know, he runs and hides and all that shit, and then he fall back, he closes his eyes and be like, this shit ain't real, and it goes away, because you know, that's Pennywise's thing, like, you can overpower him. So then when, you know, that whole thing goes away, that's when, you know, he's an adult, and then Pennywise pop out again on top of that big fucking statue, mocking him and playing with him, like saying like, you want to play truth or dare, like, I know your secret, don't nobody else know, like, nobody's gonna want to fuck with you after, you know, they know the secret, basically shaming him. So then, you know, Pennywise come down and he does all this shit, and Richie is like running for his life. So then the next one is a fat boy. I can't remember his name. What the fuck is his name, bro? It's gonna bug me because I can't remember his name right now. So then his thing is, Pennywise knew the fact that he was in love with Beverly, like, he loved this bitch. So he, Pennywise disguised himself as Beverly and did this whole trick with him, and, you know, made him feel like Beverly was feeling the same thing that he did. And then when he reached, like, he leaned forward to try to kiss her, she was like, oh, like, I don't like you like that, you fat, you this, that, and the third, making him feel bad. So when he looks down and he's like, you know, feeling bad because, you know, his little crush done basically turned him down. So when he turned back, that bitch's hair is on fire and chasing after him, and that motherfucker running the locker, and, you know, Pennywise come out. Let me just say, we're gonna talk about this, but Bill Skarsgård's performance as Pennywise in this one, bitch, like, he goes above and beyond. But we're not talking about that right now. So then, you know, Mike's thing, because he didn't leave, he stayed behind. He's the only one that remembers. He is. And then, mind you, also, I know I keep jumping back and forth. Mind you, also, all the other ones they don't have no memory of what happened. They don't remember how they defeated Pennywise the first time. They're slowly but surely getting back their memory. Because, like I said, once you leave Derry, you leave Pennywise's control. So then he ends up, you know, you end up forgetting and losing all those memories that you had of how to defeat him and all that bullshit. Which is kind of like, why would you keep him even if you stayed in Derry? Like, don't you think that Pennywise would want you to forget how to defeat him? But that was one of the flaws that I had in the movie. So they, you know, they're slowly getting their memory back as they keep going through these events. So Mike's thing is, remember in the first one when he talks about how his parents died and they burned? So they finally give you like a flashback of what happened. So he's sitting outside and you see the whole apartment building, well, the room on fire, and he's sitting in like by the staircase, and he's scared, he's petrified, he can't move. So that's what he feels guilty about. He feels like he could have done something to help them. So then Eddie's thing is, you know how he's scared of the leopard. So he goes to the pharmacy to go fill up his prescription, and, you know, Pennywise again doing his tricks, ends up tricking him and thinking that his mama is tied up at the bottom, which this shit was hilarious because this motherfucker had was trying to help his mama out, but was like, once that motherfucking leopard got real fucking close, he was like, bye, mom. Like, the fuck? I'm not trying to get caught out here in these streets and get murdered too. So then when that flashback goes away, you get a little hint of how they end up killing Pennywise towards the end. But we're going to come back to that. So then everybody has their own experience of how, you know, everything happens. And then you finally end up getting to see what ended up happening to Bowers after, you know, Mike had knocked him into the well and he fell down. So you end up seeing that there was a big rainstorm and all the water came out and pushed all the dead bodies out. So as they pushed all the dead bodies out, they also put Bowers' body out. So he ends up waking up still in his little trance of it, going back to the house. And when he goes back to the house, he ends up seeing the police there, and they figured out that he killed their, you know, he killed his dad, which was also a police officer. So the police officer's mad. It's like, you fucking killed them. So they end up putting him in a psych ward. So he ends up in a psych ward. And when, you know, Pennywise comes back, he ends up recruiting him to finish the job of killing, you know, the losers, which is a very genius move, might I add, because since they're in that whole fluctuated of not knowing what's real and what isn't, when you add, you know, this psychotic person coming in there to kill you, which he stabs Eddie in the cheek, Eddie doesn't know if it's real or not. So it adds that, like, dangerous factor to it that you're like, oh shit, like, did he really stab me or did he not? Like, am I tripping? Is this real? Like, am I gonna wake up? Is it just gonna be a flashback? Is it just gonna be something of my imagination? So it adds that fear factor to it, which was fucking genius, because as the audience, you also feel like, wait, is this real? Like, is he really there or is he not? Okay, so now that's that. Let me go back to my notes, bitch. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about Pennywise. This motherfucker, the way that he comes out okay, so we're gonna talk about the difference between the first Pennywise and then this one, which is part 1 and part 2. So in part 1, I feel like he's a lot more tamed and a lot more like a lot more playful, because they don't really know about him yet. So he's like playing with them and like tormenting them, but not to like his full potential. I feel like in this one, he does not hold back. Like, I feel like he's doing everything in his power to truly and utterly terrify them, and for them to see like his full potential of what he's able to do as not only as Pennywise, but as, you know, the Deadlights, and also as the things that he manifests through them, through their fear. And also the way that he goes about killing these other innocent people. Like, there's this one where he gets like this little girl and he ends up tricking her, thinking that he can blow away this little mole that she has on her face without her knowing. And, you know, he tells her, okay, I'm gonna count to 3 and I'm gonna blow it away. So he's like, but you gotta have to get really close for me to be able to do it. So he's like, 1, 2, and then he's like slowly starting to like drool, because he can taste her, like her fear. And she's like standing there and she's like, she's waiting, and then she's like, you haven't said 3. So when she says that, that motherfucker launches at her and fucking snatches her by her face. And they show it, but you know, they show you a little clips of it to let your imagination run with the rest of what he does. And then the next one is where he fucking eats that little boy that Bill helps to try to help him, and like when he's like banging his head on the fucking glass and like going back and forth, and then he has a moment where he stops and smiles at him to truly give you that terrifying feeling like, this motherfucker like almost killed me, and you think you're safe, but then he fucking breaks through and fucking just devours that motherfucker right in front of him, and you like, shit, like, this motherfucker is ruthless. And then the other things that he does, I don't want to give too much away, but he does other things with the things that he does where he like comes up as different things that amazing. He, like, Bill Skarsgård should get a fucking award for this shit, because this motherfucker was above and beyond. Okay, let me get some more. Okay, but like I said, we talked about the kills. He does a really good job, like, with the things that he do. Like, he's very creative, and like Pennywise is like a performer out here in the streets when it comes to shit like that. So the runtime is allegedly 3 hours, but it doesn't feel like 3 hours. It feels like, especially if you're a fan of this, if you're going into it like you're just a casual person that you just want to go see something this weekend, you are gonna feel it. But if you are a fan, like for me, I didn't feel it. I felt it more when I went to go watch Avengers Endgame. But I was like, damn, this shit is really long. Like, I'm really here, like, fucking dancing in my seat because I gotta pee. With this one, I really didn't feel it. And I guess because I was so emotionally, like, invested in the characters that I really wanted to see them succeed, that I really didn't feel the time. And I honestly feel like you guys won't feel the time either. So I feel like the runtime is actually, like, it's giving you more for your money, so that way you get to understand more of the story and more of the things that's happening. So this is one thing that I saw a lot on the internet that a lot of people had a problem with the de-aging of the children, because we all know how fucking kids like to age up overnight. So I saw that a lot of people had a problem with the de-aging and like how some of the kids looked, but I couldn't tell. And I am fucking the king of Photoshop. Like, I know how to Photoshop and shit like that. Like, I feel like they did a decent job, that unless you're like fucking zooming into the fucking shit, that you'll see what's actually going on. But if you don't zoom in and you're actually not paying attention into that much detail of it, you're actually not gonna be able to tell, unless you really sit there and you're like, something's not right about this motherfucker. Like, I see a little bit of fuzz right here, but other than that, you're like, okay, like, I really didn't have a problem with it. Like, if they would have kept the motherfuckers, like, if they wouldn't have not done the de-aging, I would have been like, okay, that's fine. Like, this probably just took like a month or so after the whole thing happened, because the flashbacks were actually really important to understanding and putting a lot more puzzles in for the story, that you were able to understand more of their connection, more of their bond, and more of the things that they went through. So that way, the final battle had more of an impact on you, that you were like, I really want these motherfuckers to make it. I really want them to succeed. I don't want none of them to die. So now we're going to talk about the final act. The final act and the overall of this story was something that, when the movie was done, I actually sat back and was like, this is really fucking genius of them, that they ended up putting this in there and made you like actually sit there and think about it. Like, for me, it was like when they were having the whole fight with Pennywise and Bill was having that moment and he realized that it was not his fault that his brother actually died, and that they all realized that together they were better than if they were by themselves. So when they finally end up killing Pennywise, they end up realizing that together and conquering their fear together was a lot better than separate. So separating them basically made them understand that together they were stronger, which, like I said, they didn't remember that from the beginning because they didn't have their memories. So allowing them to slowly but surely get that was really nice to be able to see it again, also as a fan and also as like someone that likes detail in a movie. Was really good. But there were, of course, you know, spoilers again. Eddie doesn't make it, like saving Richie, which was a very sad moment that I was like, damn, like this motherfucker really, like, he died. But the overall movie was amazing. So would I recommend this movie to you? I would say to go watch it. But I would say if you're kind of skeptical about it, try to go to a matinee. Try to go early enough where you won't pay full price, and you will honestly feel like, okay, I want to come again to rewatch this, to see something else about it. So that was my review. So if you feel like, you know, you like this review, give me a thumbs up and I'll do more like this. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll be doing more of these reviews. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.